You ever get that feeling? The one where you're doing everything you're supposed to with your money, saving, investing, but it's just not growing the way you think it should be? Well, it turns out you're not crazy. There are these invisible forces out there, kind of quietly working against your wealth, siphoning it away bit by bit, without you even noticing. So let's pull back the curtain and see what's really going on. Come on, we've all been there, right? You get your coffee, you look at the receipt, and you see that little extra 50 cents. And you think, wait a minute. You question it because it's right there in black and white. It's a visible cost, it's tangible, and it's so easy to focus on something you can actually see. But what if I told you that while we're all busy getting worked up over these tiny, visible expenses, there's a much, much bigger heist going down? This one is happening completely in the background. It's silent. It's almost entirely invisible. Yeah, you heard that right. That is not a typo. $300,000. I mean, that's the kind of money that can literally change your retirement. And it just disappears. The big question is, how? How is that even possible? And that's exactly what we're about to break down. You see, this whole thing is basically a magic trick. Our attention gets pulled over here to the small, insignificant stuff, that 50-cent upcharge, while the real action, the place where we're actually losing serious money, is happening completely out of sight. We're just wired to spot the immediate threat, but the biggest dangers to our wealth, they're slow, they're steady, and they are totally silent. Okay, so let's expose the first culprit. Let's call it the fee parasite. Think of it like a tiny organism that latches onto your investments and then just slowly but consistently drains the life out of them. So what is this parasite exactly? Well, a lot of the time it's something called a mutual fund fee, or you might see it called an expense ratio. It's basically the price you pay for having someone manage your money, and it's always presented as this really small percentage, so small that honestly most of us just glance at it and move on. But here is the absolutely devastating truth. That tiny 1.5% fee, it doesn't just take 1.5% of your money each year. No, over decades, the compounding effect of that little fee can wipe out a full quarter, 25% of what you could have had. See, it's not just a fee on what you put in, it's a fee on your growth year after year after year. Now just look at this chart. This really puts it all into perspective. Let's say you start with $100,000. Without that fee, over 30 years, you could end up with more than $760,000. Not bad. But with that small 1.5% fee, you're left with just $574,000. That gap between the two bars, that's almost $200,000 of your money that just vanished into someone else's pocket, all because of a tiny little percentage point. All right, let's move on to our second silent killer. This one gets every single one of us, whether we invest or not. It's called the inflation tax, and this thing attacks the money you think is safe, the cash sitting in your bank account, and it makes it quite literally melt away. Here's the most important thing to get. Inflation just means that over time, every dollar you have buys a little bit less than it did the year before. It is an invisible tax you pay just for holding on to cash. Your bank balance might say the same number, but its actual power, what you can do with it, is constantly shrinking. And this just illustrates it perfectly, doesn't it? Today, $1,000 can get you a pretty powerful laptop. But let's fast forward 20 years. That exact same $1,000 bill, it might only get you a nice pair of headphones to go with your new computer. The number of dollars didn't change, but their power, it took a nosedive. That is the inflation tax at work. Okay. The last leak we need to plug isn't some outside force like a fee or the economy. Nope. This one comes from right inside our own heads. It's all about how our own emotions, especially fear, can convince us to hit the financial self-destruct button. Just think about that for a second. What do you think it is? It's not buying a sports car you can't afford. It's not even picking a really bad stock. The single most destructive, most expensive financial decision you can make is letting fear take the wheel during a market downturn. And this cycle right here, this shows you exactly how we destroy our own wealth. Step 1, the market dips. It happens, it's normal. But step 2, our ancient caveman brain starts screaming danger and fear takes over. So what do? Step 3, We sell our investments at a low point to stop the bleeding. But here's the thing about markets. They recover. That's step 4. And step 5, we're sitting on the sidelines with our cash, having locked in our losses and completely missing that powerful rebound. They call this the behavioral gap, and it can cost you way more than any fee ever will.
So all these forces sound pretty powerful, right? But they are not unbeatable. You know what their greatest strength is? Their invisibility. And by simply seeing them, just by understanding how they work, you've already taken the single most important step in defending your own financial future. Awareness is everything.
So let's just recap the 3 silent killers we dragged out into the light today. First, you've got those parasitic investment fees, compounding against you day in and day out. Second, the inflation tax that's constantly melting the cash you think is safe. And third, the emotional trap of the panic-selling behavioral gap, which turns a temporary dip into a permanent loss. These are the culprits. This is where that $300,000 goes.
So, the next time you find yourself worrying about the small, visible costs, the 50-cent charges in life, I want you to pause and ask yourself a much bigger question. Are you paying attention to the silent conversations happening inside your investment accounts? Because your money is always talking. It's telling you about fees, it's warning you about inflation, it's begging you not to give in to fear. The only real question is, are you listening?